Hey everybody, welcome back to the van. I'm going through a bunch of videos tonight trying to get caught up from all the questions that I've been asked. And this video, I want to talk about building your van. Now, there's different van builds out there. I've seen some really cool basic van builds. I saw one the other day. This guy actually is selling his van. And I read how much he was asking for the van. I thought, well, that's really low. Well, that price is that's the price of the van, basically. And I saw his pictures and I went, nice van build. All he did was he went out and got a really nice bed, put on one side of the van. He hung all of his stuff on the walls of his van. He hung some curtains up where the doors were so that he could block it all off. He put a small counter in, and I mean a really small counter in, put a couple boxes underneath it, a couple boxes above. It looked cool. It was a very basic build. So you can start with a very basic build. You don't need to build huge. You don't need to spend a ton of money. If you're getting into a van because you have to move out of someplace, let's say you're in school's ending, and you're planning on living in a van, you just decided it, and you're getting in a van, you could just buy a van, throw a sleeping bag on the floor, and hit the road. Big thing, though, when you're building a van is understand that it's going to cost you to build your van, no matter if you start small or no matter if you go big all at once. There's money involved. There's time involved. There's work involved. There's some things that you can do to make your van more functional and to help you so that you're not wasting time and money. Now, again, if you have to get out in a van, throw a sleeping bag on the floor, throw a pad underneath it. If you have an old dresser, throw a dresser in, strap it to the wall, and hit the road if you have to. If you're going to start to build, consider a few things. First of all, do the stuff that has to be done first. So, get your wires run. Get your batteries where they either are or where they're going to be in the future. Don't leave your batteries for 4 years and then decide you need batteries and have nowhere to put them. Or now you have to try to run your wires. Get that stuff out of the way first. Sure, it may mean you don't hit the road this week or next week. Maybe you have to work an extra month to pay for the batteries or to pay for the wiring. But do it, because you don't want to be building and then ripping down. That is a pain, and that's actually a lot more work than what it would be to put it in to begin with. The second thing is, don't build based upon somebody else's idea. Now, I see this so often. I see people with Dodge Caravans. I see people with smaller vans. I see people with huge vans. Some of them are really cool. Some of them are beyond cool. Some of them are not very functional or very realistic. And I see people that are imitating these people. Don't. Learn what you need yourself. Do what you want to do with your van. Don't imitate me or anybody else. Don't buy a van even that's somebody else's van. Buy a van for you. I would have loved a GMC van, but I need to be able to stand up because of my lung condition and cough. So having a van where I can't stand up straight is worthless. In this van, I can stand up straight. So that's what I bought. When I started to build this van, I knew what I wanted. I wanted a bathroom. So I have a bathroom space here. Is it a waste of space? To some people, it would be. To me, it's what I wanted, and it works great. I didn't want a stovetop in here. I believe if the weather is nice, you should be out of your van. You shouldn't be in your van. When I first built it, I didn't even put a sink in here. Now I put a sink in. I left it so that I could put a sink in. I had the space, and it was easy to put in. I wanted a fridge. I put a fridge in. I built for what I want. Even today, though, I would build things differently. So don't jump into a van build until you know what you want. Live in an empty van for a year, if you have to, before you build out. Now, when you start building, and this is a big thing that I see, don't, under any circumstance, don't use press board. What is press board? Press board is like sawdust that's glued together into sheets. It's pressed together. It is horrible, absolutely horrible for building. Now, in a house, not so bad. You can cut it, you can glue it, you can screw it together. It's great. In a van that may get some water in it, as soon as the water starts soaking into the press board, it just becomes a mess. It's like wet toilet paper. As a screw works back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, the press board gets weaker. It pulls pieces apart. And you can even see down on the floor in some of these vans that I've gone to see at RV dealers where they've used press board in it. You can see the sawdust that's down there because it's starting to wear out and the screws are starting to give and the glue is snapped. Press board is horrible. Don't use it. The other problem with press board is heavy. Compared to a spruce plywood, press board is like 5 times the weight. So don't get the press board. Get a good plywood. Even if you have to, again, build slower because you can't afford the good plywood. Do it. Don't get press board. Everybody I know, every vehicle I've ever seen that has press board in it has fallen apart, and every person that's used it has regretted using it. They are replacing it. They are fixing it. They are trying to strap stuff to it. They're trying to put brackets in. Just don't use it. The other thing when you're building, don't build like it's a home on a foundation. Unless it's a tiny home on a trailer that you're going to move once or twice in its lifetime, don't build it so that it is so heavy that it's ridiculous. New fad is people building with 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch plywood. Why? It's a mobile vehicle. You don't need all that weight. I built with, this is 1/4 inch plywood on this side. This is 1/8 plywood with a little frame around it. The countertops are maple. They're not heavy marble or granite or anything else. Remember, you're building a vehicle that has to move. You're building a vehicle that you want to get some good gas mileage out of. You're building a vehicle that may go over bumps. Consider what a house would be like if it was battling a hurricane and an earthquake every single day of its existence. That's what a van is. That's what an ambulance is. That is what you're dealing with. So when you're building, build with something that's strong, but don't go overboard. The other thing, if you can, build in such a way that you can remove stuff if you have to get access to it. Now you say, but you just told us to run everything to begin with. Yep. But here's the problem. Again, it's a vehicle. So what happens if you get a dent on the side of the vehicle? How do you fix it? Well, it'd be really nice when you went to the body shop if that you could pull the stuff out and they could get to it. What happens if something starts to leak? Well, it'd be nice if you could get to it. In here, I've got a very basic system attaching everything to the walls. Is it the strongest? Probably not, but it does for what I want it to do. But I can also take this van apart in probably less than a day and take everything out of it and have it back to a base van if I had to do that, if there was a reason for it. Or if I had to access somewheres to do whatever, I could do it. Would it be fun? Probably not, but it is at least achievable. And finally, if you can, if you have the money, spend the money before you start living in the van to build it, if you can. Why? Because every time I see somebody living in a van trying to build something, it takes you 10 times as long to do the build while you're living in it than it would have beforehand. If you have to, and this isn't my idea, this was somebody else who was building out, I think it was an ambulance. And he actually went out and he was living in his ambulance. He got to know what he wanted in his ambulance. He did a few builds and then he wanted to do a big finish on it. He knew what he wanted to do. And so he went out when it was really nice. He borrowed somebody's tent. He moved out into the tent and then he finished the ambulance. And he didn't have to worry about putting everything back at night so he could sleep in the bed. He took everything, put it in the tent, lived in the tent, and it was so much easier. So if you're going to build out a van, if you're renovating a van, make it so that it works for you, not somebody else. Make sure that you do all the base work before you start building. Get your wires run, get your lights put in, get a location for your batteries and your chargers and your inverters. Get all that done. Then build with good quality materials and finish it before you have to live in it, if you can. So until next time, have a great day. I'm going to go out and enjoy myself in the beautiful weather before it drops to -40 again here in southern Alberta. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.